Here we are on 8M4 lesson 21, some facts about graphs of linear equations in two variables. In lesson 20, we learned about how to find and how to write equations of lines when we know or can easily find the y-intercept. Like in this example, if we were to graph this line, we would know that our y-intercept represented or denoted by b is a positive 2. And then we would just go about finding our rise over our run, and our rise here of 3, and then run of 3. We would have an m of 3 over 3, which is equal to 1. And so our equation would simply be y equals 1, which is our m, times x plus 2. Or y equals x plus 2. And that's how we did those problems. Now we're going to take one step more tricky, but if you remember our rules, this shouldn't be that much more difficult and should be equally fun, because math is fun. So we learned how to write in lesson 21. We learned how to write equations when we cannot easily determine the y-intercept. And we might not be able to determine the y-intercept for a couple of reasons. One, here in example A, we see that this is our 2. 2 is here, and 1 is here. So, and here's 0. So we really don't know what our y-intercept is. So we can only kind of guess at it, and we don't like guessing. So this is an example where, we can't, the y-intercept is not an integer. So we have to go about finding our equation in another way. Here's an example where we have 2 points at 3, 1 and 10, -4, and we have this line, but we don't, over here, we don't, the y-axis doesn't exist. Y-axis is not on the graph. And if the y-axis is not on the graph, then we cannot very easily find the y-intercept. And C, we have some problems that are just written in English, where it says you have 2 points at 1, 1 and 6, 5. And it says what line contains both points. In this case, we aren't, we know 2 points determine a line, but we simply aren't given the info, given the y-intercept, and it's a word problem, or maybe not. Whatever you call this, it's not. You can't find the y-intercept. So here's some examples where we do have lines and we can calculate them, but we can't go to our lesson 20 method. We need some more advanced methods. So let's move forward and let's learn those methods. So here we go. Again, lesson 20, we had b in a point, so we found equation. We found m using our y-intercept and in that extra point, rise over run. That was our m, and we just wrote our equation. Okay, so this is last lesson. All right, so in this lesson there's 2 examples. One example is we have a slope and a point. Okay, so this is type 1, and then we'll get to type 2 here in a second. This is type 1. So the way that we do this, if we have a slope and a point, and here's an example. An example would be find the equation of a line with slope 1/3 and contains the point 3, 4. So, right, we can draw this, we can graph this, but we can do this without a graph. And when we do this, I think we're going to get a y-intercept that doesn't cross evenly. So we're going to do this a different way. So when we've had the slope 1/3 and a point 3, 4, so I'm going to write that down. M equals 1/3, and a point 3 comma 4 is on that line. And we know, given, I forget what lesson it was, but it was in the teens, where there was given a slope, given a point and slope, there is exactly one line that contains that point and has that slope. Okay, so we know that's true because we've been told it and we believe it. So let's plug. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to plug the point and slope into y equals mx plus b, because we know that this must satisfy this equation. For some m and some b, for some slope and some y-intercept, this must be true. This must be true. Y equals mx plus b. So all we have to do, if we know the slope and a point, we can just plug that in. So watch how this works. We take this 1/3 and we put it in for m. And then we take this point and we take our 3 and we put it in for our x. And we take our 4 and we put it in for y. And then we solve for b. So watch how cool this is. Our y is 4. Our m is 1/3. Our x is 3. And here's our b. So 4 equals 1/3 times 3 is 1 plus b. Now we subtract 1. 3 equals b. So b is 3. So our equation must be, if m is 1/3 and b is 3, y equals 1/3 x plus 3. Right? We know our m and we know our b. And we know that this point, 3 comma 4, satisfies this equation, but there's lots of other x and y's that satisfy this equation that you can now find using this powerful equation. So very cool. So again, remember these steps. We'll have another example on the homework help of how to do it, and you're going to have lots of examples in lesson 21 on your homework. But these are the steps, and here is the strategy. Now, strategy number 2 for type number 2 actually builds on type 1. Okay? So sometimes, so we just had a point and a slope, but sometimes you're just given 2 points and you need to find the equation of a line containing both points. So here's the example. We have -1 and 3 comma 0. So we have a line going through here, but we aren't given the slope or the y-intercept. So our strategy is to find the slope, because given 2 points, you can always find the slope by, determining the rise, which in this case is negative, over the run. And then once we have a slope, we have a slope and a point. So we can go back and use our method from the last slide. Remember on the last slide, you have a point and a slope. And here we have a point and 2 points and a slope. So we can certainly write the formula. So let's do that now. So let's find our slope. This is part A. And we've done this before. We've done this many times in the last couple lessons. So our slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And in this case, I'll use this for point number 2. So 0, that's our y, minus 4 over 3 minus -1. That's equal to -4 over 4 or 1. Oh, this is nice. Our slope is -1. Okay, so m equals -1. Now we just go back to the same method we used on the last slide. We know a point. Actually, we know 2 points. Uh-oh. What are we going to do? Well, let's just choose one of our points. Let's choose this one. I like it because it's got a 0 in it. And then we use our M. So our M goes here. Our X goes here. And our Y goes here. So let's substitute those numbers in. 0 equals -1 times 3 plus B. So 0 equals -3 plus B. So we add 3, and we get 3 equals B. So we have our slope and we have our B, so we can just write our formula. And because this is a -1, we can just turn that into a -x plus 3. So those are the two strategies that we incorporate. We either have 2 points or we have a slope in a point. So type 1, we have the slope in a point, and so we can just use these 2 steps, which were outlined on the previous slide. Or if we have 2 points, we have to first find our slope and then use the next 2 steps. So now we're going to just slide right into homework help, and this is what your homework's going to be all about. There's 3 slides that we're going to do. So we're going to ask, what is the equation of a line? And I encourage you to go back and use the notes with slope -2/3 containing 0.44. Here's the hint. Remember to find B using our y equals mx plus b formula, and then substituting 4 in for x and y, and -2/3 for m. So now pause, plus try, and we're going to go for it. Okay. So we start off and we say y equals mx plus b. And we know our m is -2/3, our y is 4, and our x is 4. So let's write those down and substitute those in. 4 equals -2/3 times 4 plus b. We're going to end up with a fraction. So remember, we can't forget those fractions. So let's go. 4 equals -8/3 plus b. So let's add 8/3 to both sides. And we get 4. I'm just going to write 4 over 1 because we're going to have to do some conversion. Plus 8/3 equals b. So this guy needs to be converted. So let's put him into 12/3 because I have to multiply by 3, top and bottom. Plus 8/3 equals b. And so b equals 20/3. And that also is 6 2/3. So our m was -2/3, and our b is 6 2/3. So our equation is y equals -2/3, that's our slope, x plus 6 2/3. And that definitely deserves a happy cat. Spinning happy cat for the fraction, and we're just going to lay him down. Whoa, nice and big. All right, let's move along. Here we go. What is the equation of a line containing points 3, 1, and -1, -7? Uh-oh, this one we're going to have to calculate the slope and then move forward. So I want you to pause, plus try. I'm going to remind you of the slope formula. y2 minus y1 is -7 minus 1 over x2 minus x1 is -1 minus 4. Nope, sorry, minus, what am I doing? Minus 3. -1 minus 3, -7 minus 1. So up here we have -8 over -4. And so that equals 2. So our slope is 2. Our m equals 2. Now we can plug either point in to this equation to find our b. So let's do that. Y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to use the 3 and the 1. Why? I'm going to use 3, 1 because the numbers are smaller and they're positive, which are both reasons that they're easier to work with. Could you use -1, 7? Yes, you could use this, but your math is going to be a little bit harder. So I choose not to. So let's put our m, our 2 is m, our 3 is our x, and our y is a 1. So let's put that in. 1 equals 2 times 3 plus b. 1 equals 6 plus b. So b equals -5. And so our equation then is y equals 2x. That's our 2 for our slope, -5 for our b, 2x minus 5. Now just to show you that -1, -7 worked, just in case that's what you did, we can still give that a try. So let's do that. Y equals mx plus b. I'm going to put in my -1 and my -7 and my 2. Right? So -7 equals 2 times -1 plus b. -7 equals -2 plus b. Add 2 to both sides. And I get -5 equals b. So I get the same thing. Same. So I just wanted to point it out that it's not like one point or the other needs to be chosen. Both have to work because math is perfect and both points must satisfy this equation. And they both do. And that's what we just showed. So we'll do a spinning, growing, shrinking, happy cat. All right, last question. And this, don't let this one fool you. What is the equation of this line? Now notice that you think you might know this y-intercept, but don't guess, even though it looks like it might be 3.5. I'm not so sure. I might be trying to trick you. So let's find 2 points with integer coordinates on this line. Find 2 points and then do your calculation. I might choose, so pause and try. Pause and try. Find 2 points, then find the slope. Find m, and then find b. Okay. I assume you paused and tried. Now I'm going to use this point and this point. So that's 1, 3, and 3, 2. So our m is equal to 2 minus 3 over 3 minus 1, right? Our 2 minus 3, our difference in our y's over our difference in our x's. That's equal to -1 over 2. So that's equal to our slope. -1/2 is our slope. I like to put that box there as I've been doing all year. Now let's use y equals mx plus b to find our b. So we're going to put our slope in here and our x and our y in here. I'm going to use this one because these numbers are smaller. 1 and 3 is smaller than 3 and 2. So let's do that. 3 equals -1/2 times x, which is 1, and 1, 3 plus b. 3 equals -1/2 plus b. Add a half to both sides. 3.5 equals b. So our answer is y equals -1/2 x plus 3.5. And we'll lay it down. Happy cat. Yep. So if you would have guessed, if we would have guessed this was 3.5, we would have been right, but we wouldn't have been certain. So happy cat, y equals -1/2 x plus 3.5. And with that said, we can call it a day. We learned today how to calculate the equation or find the equation of a line given 2 points or given a point and a slope. So now you know how to find, if you're ever given a point, a y-intercept and a slope, or a y-intercept and a point, or 2 points, or a point and a slope, you can calculate, find the equations of a line till the cows come home. Great work, and we're going to move forward tomorrow with lesson 22. What you have learned so far is extremely powerful. I guarantee you it will appear on your SAT someday, and it will appear on any placement tests. It is one of the most core things that you know in algebra. So make sure you understand the homework from lesson 20 and lesson 21. And ask me any questions. I can put together more videos. This is very, very important stuff. I would not lie to you. We'll see you next time.